peace be unto you. This is the Inspiration Show entitled No Time to Die. So, as I said to you before in my last video, we taking a hard left. We taking a hard turn. I'm still going to be dealing with inspirational things, of course. I'm always going to do that. But I am now going to be sharing things with you from a spiritual aspect. I am not a minister. I'm not an ordained preacher. None of that. What I'm speaking to you is from the heart, inspired by God. So it's the same thing, sort of. But just not without, just without all the licensing and bells and whistles of mainstream, say, the mainstream religious side of things, so to speak. And with that said, I want to share with you. The title of this is No Time to Die. My clogged up here. And what I mean by that is nothing to do with the James Bond movie, which I'm sure is what brought most of you here if you're watching this. Is you saw Time to Die, No Time to Die, and you probably thought that this is some sort of review for James Bond. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even see the movie. And I'm a James Bond fan, I like James Bond. But I did not see the movie. And most recently, while I was laid up in a hospital not long ago, James Bond was not on my mind. Trust me on that. And I was not thinking about any movies. I wasn't thinking of anything recreational. I wasn't thinking of anything entertaining. I wasn't thinking of anything of this world. All I could think about while I was laid up in that hospital was God. And it wasn't like somebody sold me a death sentence or anything like that. But the doctors did say that I wasn't getting great news when I first went up in there, I'll tell you that. And it didn't hit me because I'm gonna tell you, I was so out of it, I didn't know what was going on anyway. I was just really just bad, in a bad space, mentally and physically, but not spiritually. Not spiritually. The whole time I was in there, my spirits was high. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. I really don't know why my spirit was so high. And I'll tell you, by the time I came out of there, my spirit was on steroids. I'm talking about right now, like, I'm still on the same high right now that I was in while I was in there. And I couldn't understand it. And I still don't understand it. And you know what? It don't really matter. I don't have to know why I'm on that high. But I need to know what to do to stay there. And I do know what to do to stay there because I actually had been practicing that while I was in that state. So basically what I did was the whole time I shut everything down. I wasn't dealing with social media. I wasn't talking too much on the phone. I wasn't connecting with this world. What I did, I separated myself. And what I did was I connected with God, connected with Jesus Christ. I connected deeper than I ever have probably my entire life. Now, like I said before, I've been a Christian pretty much I'm one of those people that grew up in the church. But does it mean I lived a total clean life? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm going to tell you something. I think that the fact that I grew up in the church, I think when I get the whipping, when I get the reprimand, I think it's even harder on me because it's like God is like, you know me. You're not a stranger. You're a child of mine. You know better. It's not like somebody who just constantly just does wrong and they ain't got no regard to what they do anyway. You know, it's different for me because I know better. So what they always say, this is not biblical. You know better, you do better. And it's the truth. It is the truth. So you can't really fault somebody who don't know what they're doing. They're just constantly doing wrong. They have no clue to what they're doing. But me, I get to beating a little better, a little worse because I'm supposed to know better. So, you know, I've been back and forth doing stupid stuff for years, you know, but not taking heed to just what I'm doing. And then, you know, further down the line, bring kids into this world, get married, and then still not thinking you have a responsibility. And your responsibility is not only to your wife, not only to your children, but to your children's children's children that you may never even meet. You have responsibility for that because you have to break the generational curse that is put upon families. It's put upon Christians, believers. You have to somewhere, if you in your power have it, to intervene and stop all of that, head it off at the pass. Because somebody's got to do it. My mother used to tell me she was the one to do this and that and that. Like she felt that it was embedded in her to stop generational curses in our family, to break the bonds, break all these demonic, I can't get the word right now, to pretty much revoke all demonic entities having a space in your life, things like that. So maybe she might have been right, but what happened was she lost faith. I wouldn't say she didn't believe because I definitely consider my mother a believer all the way up to her death. But I think somewhere along the way, she faltered and got weak and she lost faith. And you can't afford to lose faith. You got to keep faith no matter what. I don't care what happens. I don't care if the earth split in half right now as I sit in this chair. You still got to believe that God going to do what he said he going to do. You got to believe that. You got to believe it. I think sometimes people get so wrapped up in dying, they don't worry about what's going to happen next. Or they don't worry about how to prepare themselves that death is just what it is, an action, something that happens in life. It's not a death sentence. I want to read to you something I'm going to read a part of something that you already know. The funny thing is, believers and non-believers know this verse I'm about to read right now. It's not even like, it's not a foreign thing. Believers and non-believers both know what I'm about to read right now. But I'm going to read a little bit further afterward. And that's the part that some don't read past or read up to. So I'm reading from John 3:16. This is the English Standard Version. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Okay, everybody knows that far, right? You all know that far. Even the non-believer, the believer, Muslim, the Israelite, call the roll. Anybody you could think of, they all know that. They know that. They've heard that before. Now I'm going to go a little deeper though. So where did I stop at? Okay, so now I'm reading from 17 to 18. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through his son, through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe in him is condemned already, because he has not believed in the same in the name of the only Son of God. That's what you need to read up to. 3:16 is a great, but you need to go all the way to 18 and get a little bit more. Get a little bit more bread. Eat a little bit more. Because that right there explains that, yeah, you can get the gift of eternal life. But you gotta believe. You have to believe. But if you don't believe, what's the use? You could read this all day long. If you don't believe it, then all it is words on a paper. That's all it is. If you don't believe it in your heart, you're wasting your time. It's a waste of time. You know, I give you a negative example. If you constantly telling your child that nothing, you ain't gonna be nothing, you gonna be just like your dad, you ain't nothing, what you think he gonna believe? You think he gonna believe he gonna be great? He's gonna be a man of God one day, he's gonna serve God one day, he's gonna do great things for the kingdom of God. He's gonna believe something like that? No, he's not gonna believe that. Unless somehow God find it to touch his heart, to give him the confidence to believe in himself, to not listen to what that parent told him in a negative light. That's the only way I could see something like that turn around. But you have to build your child in a positive light in order for him to have that type of confidence. You know, I labeled this thing No Time to Die because some months, about a month or two before I went in the hospital, I went to a conference with my wife, and I had 2 or 3 prophets come up to me and tell me, you're gonna be a preacher. I'm like, what? Man, you crazy, man. You know, I wasn't disrespectful. I'm just like, a preacher? Why would? Yeah, my mother was a preacher. You know, I know some preachers. You know, my kid's godfather, he's our pastor. You know, stuff like that. I'm like, there ain't no need for me to be. Actually, 2 of my kids' godfathers are pastors, and 1 is a minister. So I was like, okay, you know, I think that's covered. Like, they don't, what God need me for? He don't need me in that light. I'm already doing stuff. I'm doing this inspirational thing. You know, I'm enlightening people where I feel like they may not have confidence themselves or whatever like that, or they may have issues in certain areas that maybe I can assist that I've been there before. You know, I'm doing that already. Why I gotta preach? I don't want to preach. I don't want to do that. And then one of them said to me, you know, the more you run from something that's destiny, you know, what's the thing in the verse in the Bible? I can't remember it exactly, but it's either you're drawn or you're driven. And I'm like, oh man, they gonna spook me out now. They coming like that. Like, nah, don't do that. Like, I don't want to be judged. You know, I don't want to be drawn. I don't want to be driven, nothing. I'm like, you know, come on, nah, don't drag me into this. Like, nah. So then they said to me, well, you're holding up souls from the kingdom of God because you are the bridge. You are the connection for them to obtain the glory of God, because you are the direct connection. You are the direct bridge to make all of that manifest, make all of that work. So the longer you procrastinate, or the longer you doubt, or the longer you choose not to accept your mission, is going to hold those souls up. Now, I thought about that. It don't mean that I jumped out the window and acted on it, because I didn't act on it. I really had no plan to act on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks, that sounds good, but I'm still not doing it, you know. I sat like on a ride back when I was coming back home, on the flight back home. I thought about it. And I'm gonna tell you, I've been thinking about it ever since. And this is, like I said, this is about 2 months ago. I've been thinking about it deeply on the flight. And then like I thought about it, sporadically all the way up until now as I speak. But I really thought about it when I was in that hospital. And it's not because I felt like I was gonna die or anything like that. I just kind of felt like, I don't understand. Like, why would God want me to preach? But then I started going backwards and thinking about a lot of things in my life that I've done or been called to do that I had no desire to do. And I'm gonna go all the way back to when I was serving the U.S. Army. I didn't want to be a sergeant. I had no desire. My plan when I joined the Army was to get in there and get out. I was gonna go in there, do my 4 years, and run from that place. Literally. I mean, not even probably even acknowledge that, that I did my time there, whatever. Like I didn't care about any of that. But a man by the name of George T. Balonis, who was my first sergeant at the time, I think he wound up retiring as a sergeant major. He made me go to the promotion board, and I did not want to go. And the first time he sent me, I failed. I did it on purpose. And he knew it, though. He knew it. It was crazy because he knew that I failed it on purpose. So, he said, all right, I'm going to deal with you. So, he had me doing the push-ups and all this other crazy stuff. And, pretty much had me sweat up my dress uniform, the dress-up uniform, whatever like that, and embarrassed me. And he says, okay, so when are you going back to the board to pass? And I was like, oh, man, like, I don't want to go back. I'm done. Like, no, I don't want to be no sergeant, man. And he's like, you're going to be a sergeant. He's like, you have leadership in you. You have potential in you that has to be unlocked. So I said, all right, fine. I went back, I passed, became a sergeant. I got out of the Army. And then, then now I'm in the workforce world, whatever like that. And, pretty much jobs are getting just flung at me, just thrown at me just because of my background. Literally, like, not even, there were jobs that were thrown at me that I didn't even actually interview for, or even them seeing a resume from me, because I don't think I even made a proper resume until, say, maybe not even after I got my first job coming out of the military. I don't think I even have the resume. I didn't have a resume together yet. So I actually put a proper resume together about 2 years after coming out of the military. I finally put a resume together. And then, like, I didn't even really need to use it because I had took several tests while in the military. And I passed all of them. Several tests for the city, for employment. And I passed all of them. And I wanted to go into law enforcement. And pretty much that's where I was staying at for about 12 years. So I didn't really need to look for a job or anything for all that time. My resume wasn't even needed. And that was a story right there with that. But back on topic, during a time frame, I'd say from 2003 up until about 2019, a lot of stuff was happening in my life through all that. A lot of stuff, a lot of up, a lot of down. Now, the thing is that when I was on the up, I wasn't thinking about nothing but being up. It's totally out of control, reckless, doing the most craziest things you could think of for somebody who had money or whatever like that. So I wasn't thinking about anything. So I was being very reckless, very, very out of control, arrogant, narcissistic, all types of stuff. But the first bullet that hit me was my father passing away. You know, it came out of nowhere, literally. Like, it hit me. You know, he passed, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, my father? Like, wow, like, how come my father just died like that? And that was like 2012. Yeah, about 2012. Lost my dad, got a phone call early in the morning. Them telling me, like, you know, your father's gone, all stuff like that. And I was so stuck and frozen that my younger brother, who lives in Delaware, was able to beat me to Brooklyn, New York. And I live in New York, and he beat me there because my mom was that fried like that. I didn't know what to do. So then you have my mother passing. My mother passed 2 years later. And that was really that right there was the Mike Tyson punch and another bullet. So now I'm like weak skates now. You know, I'm starting to really dwindle down. Mentally, physically, spiritually, just almost literally on spiritual life support. Like, I just gave myself another title now. I'm gonna hit y'all with later sometime. So I was on spiritual life support. And I'm gonna tell you, if my mother knew that my spirituality was that low, and she knew about it, and she was still on earth at the time, or she'd let me have it. She's like, oh, you don't do that. You don't let your spiritual life get like that. Because if you don't have your spiritual life, you have nothing. Without your spiritual life, your physical means nothing. Your physical means nothing. If you can't function up here, all the rest of your physical movements mean nothing. It's nothing. Literally nothing. You might as well just be an empty shell, a walking corpse, the walking dead. You might as well be that. So now, like I said, I'm on spiritual life support. And then my youngest uncle, actually, before I even get to that, I get hurt on my job, on my career job, my law enforcement job. I wound up in a hospital. Had to get surgery. Had to go through rehab. Rough time, terrible time for me. And my late pastor came to visit me. Now let me back up a little bit. My uncle came first to visit me in rehab. And then my pastor comes right after him. The same day, they both came to visit me. They shook hands. And I'm like, I don't know what it was, but when they shook hands, I felt something. Even though, mind you, I'm on spiritual life support because, like, I'm not even connecting with God the way I should or whatever like that. But I got a little spark that day. When they shook hands, something came over me. And the fact that both of them came to visit me that day was something else that came over me. I didn't know that later on, a couple of years down the line, I was about to lose both of them. Yep, I was about to lose both of them. First, I lost my uncle within, I say, several months of me seeing him that last time. But the day before my uncle passed away, I spoke to him 2 hours on the phone. And we were talking about a lot of, like, positive things, what we're going to do, maybe even, collaborate on some things. We were talking big moves. We were talking about making some big moves. And he passed away the next day. My other uncle, his brother, called me and told me I was driving. It destroyed me so much I had to pull over. Because I couldn't even drive. I was driving all over the road. I was zonked out. My mind was fried. I had to pull over, let everything all out, man, dang, pull myself together and get back on the road and get home. I got to say, thanks be to God, I wasn't that far from home. I was maybe a 10 to 15 minute ride from home. That 10 to 15 minute ride felt like like I was in hours of traffic. That's what it felt like. So after that, now I'm on literally flatline spiritually, because like I'm really messed up now. I'm like, oh man, what else is gonna happen now? What else can happen now that I can't take no more of this? What's gonna happen next? So then let's see, we talking, that was 2016. I think my pastor passed away in 2019. Yeah, because we passed before COVID happened. So then here it is, between 2016, I lose my job, my career job, I lose it. I'm out of the hospital, no job, hip surgery. So now I can't really do anything too physical. So, my career and stuff that I'm used to doing, I had to kind of, redo and rethink, because I couldn't make money that same way anymore. So now I had to focus more on my mind to make money, So now after that, I somehow stumbled across a light job, just doing some regular security, nothing heavy, like, just little low stuff. I took that job because my wife says, you gotta do something, because you're depressed and it's affecting your whole well-being. You gotta do something to get your mind off everything you're going through. And the low security guard job helped me a little bit, because I know I wasn't getting nowhere near the kind of money I was used to getting. But for that one time in my life, I think I didn't think about the money. I thought more so about my mental health and getting back on track. So I rode that out for a while. I got another job, still security, but it was as a supervisor. And made a little bit more money, a little more time, freedom for myself. The only thing is they were a little, they were doing a little dirt behind the scenes and not really doing things in my favor, so to speak. So I left them. I wound up back with the company I was with before them. And this time now as a manager, way more responsibility, making nearly as much money as I was making in law enforcement. So you figure now I'm on the way, right? So guess what? I still wasn't really on the way. You know why I wasn't on the way? Because my spirituality was not building with my financial. So it's like I felt like I had to get knocked off a horse again, or knocked down again to find out. And I sort of did get knocked down again. But the difference is now is like I'm so strong spiritually, almost literally nothing can make me change my mind about the way I feel now. So when I laid in that hospital bed, all I kept thinking in my head is no time to die, no time to die. And the reason why it's no time to die, because I got missions. I got work to do. I got things that God has set forth for me to complete. I have to do them. I don't have to do it. I could just say I ain't doing it, right? Yeah, I could do that. But guess what? Now I'm holding him up. I can't do that. The same way that you at your job, that you working from 9 to 5, whatever it is, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, or whatever your schedule is. When your boss say he need that project, and he need that project completed by such and such a time, he don't want to hear excuses. He don't want to hear about what you got to do, or how you feel, or whatever like that. It ain't about that. There's work to be done. And that's what happened to me right now. I know I got work to do. It's not about how I feel. It's not about what I want to do personally. is a mission that needs to be accomplished. Are you going to do it, or do I need to give it to somebody else to do? And get you up out of here. If you holding up space, being dead weight. So I chose it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do just whatever he want me to do. And if it means changing my whole platform and reach people like this, then that's what's going to be done. And that's what I'm doing. It don't have to be the traditional hooping and hollering and running around and standing on my head. You ain't see me do none of that. But I'm speaking from my heart. And I'm telling you, from a man that's still, and never will be a perfect man. But I could tell you about my flaws. I could tell you about mistakes I've made in life with full transparency, because I don't care. There's no way in the world you ever embarrass somebody who's already transparent about themselves. There's nothing you can tell me. There's no one that can get in my comment section or call me up or text me or whatever like that and say, I remember when. You remember when? I remember when too. But guess what? I'm past that. I'm moving forward. I ain't thinking about that no more. That's that, and this is there. And this is where I'm going. So I ain't worrying about that. So people that still dwell there, I feel sorry for you. And I guess, maybe I pray one day things will be better for you. There was a time when, pornography was a regular part of my life. Same way you get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee and maybe have your breakfast or whatever like that. Well, I had to be indulging in that life. I had to indulge in it. It was an addiction. Addiction was on me so strong I couldn't even realize it, or even I was just out of touch with it. I couldn't believe it until now. Now that I know and now that I'm in control of things, now I see the strength that thing had. The demonic control that thing had over me. Because it is a demon. It's a demon. If you got to be looking at naked women and seeing that type of stuff every day, or however you do it, whatever the case, if you just so stuck in that world, you can't let it go, that's a demon. That's a demon. Call it, no, don't sugarcoat nothing. Call it straight down the line like the umpire calling the strike. It's a demon. It's a demon. If I sat here and told you through a regular day how much pornographic material I get sent to me all day long, either through social media, just my cell phone or whatever like that, and I sit back and wonder to myself, what is the sickness in these people? And a lot of people are my friends. Supposed to be my friends, whatever the case. What is wrong? Why do they have to keep every day sending me this stuff? I'm not interested. And if you're watching this right now and you ain't know it, now you heard it out of my mouth to tell you, I am not interested. I don't want to see no naked women. I don't want to see no pornographic sexual situations. I don't want to see none of that. I am not interested at all. My wife is gorgeous. I get all I need from my wife. Everything I need is in my wife. It's almost like God drew the blueprint and put it in the person, because that's what I need all in her. All this stupidness I was doing out here, running around acting retarded, because I'm chasing something carnal. But when I finally realized that my wife has spirituality, she has the attractive looks, she has the intelligence, everything is all inside of her. Everything that's in her, everything I need is inside of her. I don't need all this other junk out here. So if you're not happy, because that's kind of what you're saying to me, is that you're not happy. You're not happy, so you got to keep looking at these different women. But if you sit back and think about it, One day today, you're looking at Gina. Tomorrow, you're looking at Raquel or whatever he's other. I'm just throwing names out there. Because you're never going to be satisfied. The longer your mind, the longer you lust and look at these different women, you will never be satisfied. And I'm not just shouting and talking to you because I know I've been there. I've been there. As long as you keep embracing lust, you will not ever be satisfied. You're not going to be satisfied. You can continue to keep doing this forever, for your entire life. That's what's going to happen. Whether you married, you got a girl, or whatever the case, if your mind is not fixated on your wife or fixated on your girlfriend, or better yet, fixated on God, you will continue to dwell in lust. You're gonna dive deep in lust, and you're gonna drown in it, because you're never gonna swim out of that until you make the decision that enough is enough. I'm gonna get this demon up off of me, and I'm gonna get right. You gotta want it. Just like them exercise videos and all that, when they be telling you, you want the six pack, you want the muscles, you want all that, you gotta want it. And it's the truth, you gotta want it. Cause ain't nobody gonna give it to you. Nobody gonna say, here, take it. You gotta want it. I said to myself, yo, enough of this, man. Who am I living for? Who am I really living for? I got everything I need right in my face. Why am I looking at these little busted, and disgusted women out here who don't even love themselves? Them same women you looking at worshiping with half naked, they ain't got nothing on. They don't even have, their self-esteem is lower than what you could ever think, lower than you could even imagine. They don't even love themselves. Half of them don't even love themselves. They don't even love themselves. But here you go chasing them, ready to engulf and engage yourself in their spirit. So now they're gonna get you, they're gonna hop that spirit onto you. And you're gonna be wondering why you can't achieve nothing in life. Why you being held back. You know. So it all comes down to, you gotta get yourself together. You gotta get right. Everybody's appointed once to die. Once to die, and then the judgment. But while you here on this earth, there ain't no time to die, because you got work to do. You ain't got to be a preacher. You ain't got to do none of that. You ain't got to do none of that. You don't have to do none of that. You don't have to do anything that you feel is outside of what your calling might be. But you do need to seek God and seek his face and get close to him as you can. And don't worry about what's going on in the world, because this is going to all pass away. It's going to crumble right before your feet. Understand? So don't worry about all of that. And I went way over the time I wanted to go. But you know what? I know what I said had to be said. And hopefully I touched somebody's heart out there. And you change your life. And you focus forward on God. And with that, faith, health, wealth, success, I wish that God bless you abundantly.